Recently in the newspapers you must have read a lot about the change in the new IT rules, the blocking or the suspension of Rahul Gandhi's Twitter account and the Congress Party's Twitter account, the feud between the government and the social media intermediaries, especially Twitter. So what is all this fuss about? So I, Anuj Sharma, in today's video will be talking about or taking you through the journey of social media and the new IT rules that have been formed by the government of India and whether it has any impact on the freedom of speech and expression of the citizens. So friends, in the present understanding, we need to understand the idea that recently there was blocking of the account of Mr. Rahul Gandhi and the Congress Party. Moreover, the Twitter has to follow the new rules that have been framed by the government of India by the name of new IT rules. Now, what is Twitter? What is Facebook? What is WhatsApp? And what is Instagram? All these are the social media intermediaries. So as per the new IT rules of 2021, the government of India has explained or has told or has created a distinction between the social media intermediaries. So when we talk about the social media intermediaries, we need to understand that two kinds of distinctions have been created. One is a social media intermediary and second is a significant social media intermediary. So the two distinctions have been created. One is a social media intermediary and second is a significant social media intermediary. Now the significant social media intermediary are any such social media intermediaries where there are more than 50 lakh people associated with it. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram all come under the significant social media intermediaries. So the government of India has brought in the new IT rules which the government told the social media intermediaries to follow. The social media intermediaries told the government that they will not follow these social media rules, and even the digital news media house is told that this is a censorship by the government. But the government had an argument and the government said that nothing is above the rule of law. And as it should be, that when there is a constitutionally run government, nothing can be above the rule of law. So the social media intermediaries had to follow this rule of law and the new laws that have been created by the government. So let us go through first the timeline of the government and the Twitter feud. So the government of India issued these guidelines and told that every social media intermediary, be it a significant social media intermediary, has been given 3 months to implement these guidelines. Now, the Twitter did not implement these guidelines at the first. Now the point is that the government is asking the social media intermediaries to follow these guidelines. So the first point that should come in the mind of the UPSC aspirant especially is that what are the need of these rules, that whether these rules are relevant, whether these rules were required, why the government has came up with such rules. So if we talk about the need of such rules, we need to understand that on social media, we have seen a lot of prevalence of hate speech. Along with that, we have seen fake news. And there is a lot of even sexual content on social media. There has been a misuse of social media which has been done by multiple institutions and multiple bodies. Even the corporates have used social media to settle their scores. You see that what kind of things are trending on social media, what kind of things are trending on Twitter, you will realize the polarization that has occurred in our country or throughout the world. So the government tried to control, or the government has every right to control the spread of hate speech. For example, the community going against another community, the individual trying to discriminate against the other other individual on the basis of his association with particular religion or a particular caste. Fake news, you see there is a lot of prevalence of fake news on social media. You must get, or you must have gotten multiple messages on your WhatsApp regarding some fake news. Then there is a sexual content that is there on the social media, and also you must have seen the corporate rivalries that are present in social media platforms. So the government has every right to implement these rules or bring in these rules. Right now, the government told that the Twitter also has to implement these rules within 3 months, and the Twitter appointed a chief compliance officer. Now the point comes that what do we understand by a chief compliance officer? And similarly, in August 2021, Twitter appointed a permanent employee to serve both as a chief compliance officer and a grievance officer. So now, sir, the understanding that we need to have, what is a chief compliance officer? What is a grievance redressal officer? Now, as per the new IT rules, the government, every company has to appoint 3 officers. Right. So as per the new rules, every company has to appoint 3 officers. Right. So those 3 officers are, as per the new rules, every company or social media intermediary has to appoint 3 officers. So what are those 3 officers, or who are those 3 officers? One is a chief compliance officer, which recently has been appointed by Twitter. Now this chief compliance officer will be responsible to comply with the orders that have been given by the government. Now the government has said that any content on social media can be blocked. Any content on social media can be blocked. So what did the government say? That the government has framed the rules for blocking the content on social media. The government has said in those rules that if the content has sexual, or content is sexual by nature, then the content shall be blocked within 24 hours. And if the content has to be blocked as per the orders given by the government, then the content has to be blocked within 36 hours. Right. So recent controversy related to the blocking of or locking of the social media handle of Mr. Rahul Gandhi and the Twitter party, and the Congress party by Twitter was on the orders of the government, because the Congress party, as per the government, and Rahul Gandhi, as per the government, has violated some laws of the country. Right, has violated some laws of the country. So they gave the order, the government of India gave the order to Twitter to lock his content and remove that photograph or video, whatever it was. Now, the chief compliance officer is responsible to comply on any such order given by the government, or any such sexual content which has to be uploaded on the government, that they have to, the chief compliance officer is responsible that each and every rule that is written in the new IT rules is complied by the social media intermediary. Second officer who has been to be appointed is the Grievance Redressal officer, which Twitter has recently appointed in this month. Now this Grievance Redressal officer is that, for example, if you post something on social media and your content gets deleted, right, or you report something on social media, that you see a fake news or you see a abusive news against a particular individual, against a particular group, so you report it. Right, or your content gets deleted, so you can report it, or you can ask the grievance redressal officer to ask or to check your grievance, that what are the issues you are facing. So the government of India said that if you are minting money outside, minting money from India, and you are being, or you are serving the people of India, then you also need to comply to the orders and take into consideration the grievances of people of India. So for that sake, the grievance redressal officer is appointed. The third officer who has to be appointed is a nodal officer. Now sir, this nodal officer will be in contact with the government 24 hours, right? So he has to be in contact with the government whenever the government deems fit. So he shall be ordered by the government, and the rules have to be complied by the chief compliance officer. Now it was explained that the government said that when the rules were framed, each and every social media intermediary had to appoint the chief compliance officers. Now sir, as per these rules, every social media intermediary has to follow a certain code of ethics. Every social media intermediary has to follow a certain code of ethics. Now the social media intermediary said that the government, if it reports that it is a sexual content, or anyone reports a sexual content, or someone reports for a fake news or anything, the government orders. So first point of understanding is that you should know who the originator is. Now the first point that comes into contention against these new IT rules is that the social media platforms have to break the end-to-end encryption. Now when you open your WhatsApp and you start a new chat, so the first thing that comes is that the first thing you will see that is written by the WhatsApp is that the messages are end-to-end encrypted, that you cannot know the originator, you cannot know the source. So if these new rules are to be complied, then the new rules say that the social media platforms should know the originator. If someone violates this media house, someone violates the rules, some fake news are spread, then the originator needs to be known. So in that case, end-to-end encryption has to be broken. Right. In that case, end-to-end encryption has to be broken. That means if the traceability is done and end-to-end encryption is broken, it will directly violate our right to privacy given under Article 21 of our Constitution after K.S. Puttaswamy judgment. Right. So this was the issue that was even raised by the civil societies, but the government said that the rule of law has to prevail and everyone has to comply by that. Now, these things were followed by the government, that is all social media platforms with 50 lakh users, more than 50 lakh users. I told you that these are significant social media intermediaries. Now the traceability and originator of the information. So this basically will violate or can violate your right to privacy, because the government cannot punish, or the government cannot punish if the government does not know that who is the originator of fake news, who is the originator of any such news or any such hate speech. Now WhatsApp has already filed a petition in the Delhi High Court that the new IT rules violates the privacy, but still it is sub judice, that the court, we need to see that the what court thinks about that, right? So any such item or any such news will also increase the censorship on the content and will reduce our freedom of speech and expression, or will have direct impact on our freedom of speech and expression. Now the biggest point of debate are two things. One is the government can dictate the content to the digital news platforms as well, because as per the new IT rules, the new digital news items or the digital news channels also have to follow the journalistic code of ethics, which are mentioned as per Regulation Television Network Act of 1995. So those journalistic code of ethics have to be followed by the digital news media platforms as well. So if the government deems fit that any item that is being produced by the digital news media platforms or by any social media intermediary, so the government says that the social media intermediaries have to comply and take action if the government says to take action. Now what if the social media intermediaries do not comply to the new IT rules? So if the social media platforms do not comply to these new IT rules, then the exemption given under section 79 of IT Act will be taken away. Now section 79 of IT Act gives an exemption that whatever an individual is posting on the social media, the social media is not responsible for that. For example, if I post something on social media platform, for example Facebook, then it are my views and social media is not responsible for that. So if it is violative of any law, it is discriminatory, it is hate speech, it is fake news, then I am the one who is responsible for. But if the social media platforms or intermediaries do not comply with the new IT rules within 3 months, then the social media platforms will also be responsible for that, because the exemption under section 79 of IT Act will be taken away. So the social media platforms had to comply with these orders to continue or to maintain their exemptions. Right. So these are the certain issues that are with regard to the social media platforms and new IT rules, as I have already explained it to you. Moreover, if we talk further, as a UPSC aspirant, you should also know that one thing that from polity point of view, from governance point of view, is that whenever the government tries to control the free flow of communication, for example, be it on social media platforms or be it of the digital news content, so what it will ultimately result into is suffocation of our views. What it will ultimately result into the suffocation of the views of the user. So it will ultimately lead to the authoritarian government. So you should know that what are the pros and what are the cons of a particular subject or a particular component or a particular topic. So that is it from our side. I'll see you next week. Until then, thank you very much. Take care, be safe and study well.